Chapter 16, we don't cover all of the sections in this test 3. We cover all the sections that deal with, calculating payments on loans. So that's sections 2, 4, and 5. But in section 2, we're dealing with just basic loans and finding our annual percentage rate. There are some basic loan costs in there. It talks about the installment cost and the amount financed. So those are good, just background information to know. The amount you finance is going to be the amount that you're purchasing the item for minus your down payment. So your down payment is cash today. The total installment cost is totally what you would pay for a loan. So if you had a car loan and you pay $350 a month for 60 months, you would multiply that. That's the money out of your pocket plus whatever you put down, and that's your total installment cost. And then if you wanted to know the amount of interest, you would take the difference between how much did I actually buy that car for, how much did I agree to purchase the car for, versus what did I really pay out of pocket. And the difference would be the interest that they charge you. So that's good to kind of understand those concepts. I will get into one where, again, we're using our time value of money keys. So we have our same row of keys that we've been using. And actually, I'm going to scoot them over a little bit. So our time value money keys are still being used here. If we have a flat screen TV purchase, Rudolph bought a flat screen TV with special sound speakers for $1,800. He paid $200 down and agreed to payments of $142.16 per month for 12 months. Find the annual percentage rate. So the present value is always the amount that's being financed, because that's in today's value. That's how much he's borrowing. So if he bought it for $1,800 and he put $200 down, that's going to be a $1,600 present value or amount that he financed. And we're going to make it negative, or you're going to get the wrong answer if you don't make it negative. He agreed to make payments of $142.16 per month. So that indicates to us that's our payment. That per month is your clue. It's every month he's going to pay $142.16. With all loans, the future value is 0. So don't get confused by that, because sometimes students want to put a value in there. Just think about if you got a loan and you paid it for all the months that you agreed to pay, what should that future value be? It should be 0. You should owe nothing. So keep that in your mind. The future value on all loans is 0. They want to know how long, they want to know find the annual percentage rate. So that's what we're computing for. And then our N is going to be the 12 months. So we'll put those into our financial calculator. So we've got 12 as our N, 1,600, push the plus or minus button, then push your present value button. 142.16 is my PMT, or my payment. 0 future value, and then come back and compute the IY. So that gives me 1, basically. It's 1.002, but don't stop there. What is that? That's our monthly rate. Well, we don't think in terms of that. So you need to multiply that by 12 to get it into an annual percentage rate. So then that 12% is your final answer. Anytime you're computing for the IY, it's always going to give it to you in compounding periods. So if you're not in years, say you're in months or in quarters or something else, you always want to take it out of that. Bring it into an annual rate. So then that is that. And that's one, though, that, again, remember to make this negative by hitting that, or you'll get a different answer. And then remember to bring it up and out of the monthly rate and into an annual rate. Okay, then moving on into section 4 and 5. Section 4 and 5 deal with loans. Section 4 is just personal property loans like car loans or boat loans or motorcycle loans, whatever you're going to finance out for a period of time. And then Section 5 deals with home loans or mortgages. And now with this one, we get into the amortization function. So that's going to be an extra calculation that we do on your calculators that I will put up here and show you how to do it. So we have Grants Graphics buys a commercial digitizer and a high-speed printer for $4,000 and they finance the entire amount. So that tells us that $4,000 is going to be our present value. It amortizes the loan using 4 annual payments at 8% per year. So that makes it a little bit easier because we're not in months, we're in years. So it's 4 payments once a year at 8% per year. So I don't have to do anything to my N or my IY. And again, with all loans, you've got a 0 future value. So then what we're doing is we're computing the payment. So that's our first step. Okay, so we come to our calculator, put 4, push the N button, 8, push the IY button, 4,000 to make that negative by pushing the plus or minus, and then push your present value button. No future value on a loan. It's going to be paid off, so 0 that out, and then come back and compute for the payment. So he would have to, or this company would have to pay $1,207.68 every year. That would be their required payment. So then the next part of it says prepare an amortization schedule for that. So don't clear out your work. Once you've computed the payment, then immediately come over and push your second menu button. And again, that takes you into the gold or the silver lettering above the keys on your calculator. And then we're looking for the amortization function, which is our PV. So AMORT is above that PV key, and then that's what you're going to push. And once you're inside that function, you're going to have a series of fields that you can arrow through. So those are your 5 fields. These first 2 are the only ones that you enter anything into. So for this one, it just says set up an amortization schedule. So I'm going to want to amortize 1 payment at a time. So this P stands for my payment. So my payment 1 is going to be 1. And I'm going to push the enter button. And then I'm going to arrow down. And then my payment 2 is also going to be 1. I'm just isolating that first payment only. And then I'm going to arrow down. Then the rest of it's going to fill in for me. Then I arrow down to my balance, and it tells me that $3,112.32 is my balance on that loan. So I started with $4,000. After I made 1 payment of $1,207.68, my balance becomes $3,112.32. If I arrow down again, it tells me that out of my first payment, $887.68 was applied to the principal. In effect, it reduced my $4,000. If you take $4,000 and you subtract that amount, you get your balance. So out of my payment, $887.68 reduced my balance to bring it down to this. Arrow down one more time. And the amount of interest the bank charged me was $320. So then you could put that into an amortization table where you're just kind of mapping it out to say, okay, and I'm just going to kind of write it over here so we've got it. And you can just put it right in order as it appears on your calculator. So out of that first payment, that would be my amortization schedule. Then if I want to go on, in this case they want us to do all 4 payments. So if I want to go on and do payment 2, I go back to my function, And then now I want to isolate payment 2. So I can just arrow back, hit arrow down one more time, and it takes me up to the top. So now I want to say I want to isolate payment 2. So then now my P1 is going to be equal to 2. I'm going to push in 2 and push the enter button. Arrow down, I want my P2 to be equal to 2. I'm isolating just that second payment. So 2 and then push enter and then just arrow through it. Then it tells me my balance goes down to $253.62. Arrow down one more time. My principal is $958.70 if I round it. Arrow down one more time, and the interest is $248.99. So again, it's taking that second payment and it's breaking it out and saying after I make the second payment, my balance then goes down to $253.62. The amount of principal coming out of my payment, which again is reducing that balance, is $958.70, and then my interest is $248.99. And that's occurring with my second payment. So the trend is going to be that the more payments I make, the less amount I pay in interest, and the more of my payments that go to principal, which reduces my balance. Okay. Maybe I can scooch it just a little bit so you can see. There we go. Okay. Then we'll go on and we'll do payment 3. So erase this. On your calculator, just arrow down and it takes you back up to the top. Now we want to make our P1 equal to 3 and our P2 equal to 3. So we push in 3, push enter, arrow down, push in 3, push enter. So again, by making your P1 equal to 3 and your P2 equal to 3, you're isolating that third payment. Arrow down, and my principal, or my balance, is $1,118.23 if I round it. Arrow down again, and my principal is $1,035.39. And then arrow down, my interest is $172.29. So you can see the balance goes down after each payment. The amount of principal I'm paying is increasing with each payment, and the amount of interest I'm paying is decreasing with each payment. And then in this case, we've got one more payment. There's just 4 payments. So if we go back, and now we isolate payment 4. So just arrow down on your calculator. Make your P1 now equal to 4 and your P2 equal to 4. So to do that, you push in a 4, push enter, arrow down, push in a 4, push enter. And then now you get a strange answer. And mine is a negative 5.6-10. What that is telling me is that there's 10 zeros in front of that 5.06. So it's basically like, like that. You know what I mean? So it's a zero balance, in other words. So my balance is 0. Then I arrow down again, and the amount of principal that was paid out of that 4th payment was $1,118.23, which is exactly what I owed. And then the amount of interest was $89.46 if I round it. So then now my balance goes down to 0. The amount of principal was at $118.23, and then the interest was $89.46. So then that is how you amortize a loan using your financial calculator to do it. And you will have to do it on your test as well as on your take-home quiz and in your My Math Lab homework, so you'll have some practice with that. And then we'll do one more. We have, in section 5, we get into our real estate loans. So I picked one that has a very small, it has us set up an amortization schedule for 2 of the payments, just so we do it a couple different times. So we have home purchase. Eric and Beth purchase a home and finance the debt of $212,000 for 20 years at 9%. So we'll start with our financial calculator. We always have to start with that to compute our payment. So you can't get into that amortization function unless you have the financial calculator, or the time value money keys all filled in. So they purchased a home for $212,000, or they financed $212,000. So that's our present value. It's what they owe today. So we're going to enter that and make it negative by pushing the plus or minus button. With all loans, no future value. It's going to be paid off at the end of the 20 years. We're trying to figure out what their payment is. So that's what we're computing for. We know that their rate of interest is 9% per year, but with all mortgages, even though it kind of doesn't state it, you know that with a mortgage you pay a monthly payment. Nobody pays an annual mortgage payment. That would be way too high. So we're going to take this down into a monthly payment. If we take our 9 divided by 12, that gives us 0.75, so 0.75 per month. For 20 years, again, making monthly payments, there's going to be 240 monthly payments. So we put that into our financial calculator, 240, and then push your N button. The 0.75, push your IY button. 212,000, make that negative by pushing your plus or minus button. Then push the present value button. 0, future value, loans all paid off. And then now push compute and payment. So their monthly payment is $1,907.42, not counting any property taxes or insurance. Some of your problems will have that, and if that's the case, you just have to come up with a monthly amount for those and then add it to your payment amount. This one would like us to amortize it for the first 2 monthly payments. So again, if we go to our second menu, and our PV button. Don't ever clear your work though. Just go right to that second menu and push the PV button and you go right into it. If you would clear your tables, then you can't amortize the loan because it's pulling off of those keys. So we're going to make our P1 equal to 1 and push enter, and our P2 equal to 1 and push enter, and then we'll see what comes up on these fields. So P1, push 1, push enter, arrow down to P2, push 1, push enter, arrow down again. And then my balance is $211,682.58. So they started with a $212,000 balance. After one payment, they've reduced it a little. If I arrow down again, it tells me how much it was reduced. $317.42 reduced the principal balance. And then if I arrow down one more time, $1,590 went to interest. So that you can see when you're dealing with a mortgage over a long period of time and you're making those monthly payments, so much of that monthly payment goes to interest and so little goes to reducing the principal. So that's kind of the nature of our mortgage system. So then that's what we would put in as our first payment. So I'll try to just squeeze it down here on the balance, or I'm sorry, on the bottom. And this one only has us amortize 2 payments because obviously there's 20 in the whole loan. And so then if I come back here, and now I go in and say, okay, I just want to look at payment 2. So let me arrow down, get to my P1 field. I want my first payment that I'm looking at to be 2, so I push a 2 and push enter. And then I want my second payment that I'm looking at to be payment 2, and I push enter. So again, by making those two the same number, we're just isolating that one payment. We're isolating payment number 2. If I arrow down again, my balance goes down to $211,362.78. If I arrow down again, it tells me that out of my payment, $319.80 went to reduce that principal, and then $1,586.62 went to the interest. So then I come over, just if I'm building my amortization schedule and say, okay, now you can see the balance goes down a little bit more. We're down to $211,362.78. The principal, every month it'll go up a little bit more. So we started with only 317 reducing our principal. Now we're up to almost 320, and then that would continue through the life of the loan. And then the interest will go down a little bit every month as you pay your balance down. So then there we amortized out the 2 payments on that mortgage. All right, so then that is it for Chapter 16. So again, we're using the same time value of money keys that we did, but now we're adding this amortization function. So play around with that and get comfortable.